All right, should be live now. All right, so what I wanted to cover today was for November 30th was I was going to start off with a market recap and then answer some questions from the comments in the last video, and then talk about some different currencies to look at right now. So starting off with a market recap. Currently, a lot of the higher market cap coins are down from 24 hours ago. They might be up slightly since my last stream, which was like 26.5 hours ago. But as you can see, out of the top 7, 6 of them are down. Dash is up again, so Dash just keeps going up, and that's Dash is definitely a good cryptocurrency. I think so. Part of it going up is because it's good currency, and then part of it going up is I'm pretty sure it's getting a lot of buy orders from Korean exchanges. I can check. Yeah, so BitThumb is a Korean exchange, and they are doing 31.67% of the volume for Dash. So kind of like what happened with Ethereum Classic, where the BitThumb exchange had a really high percent of the trade volume for Ethereum Classic, and Ethereum Classic was going up. So I can't remember how much of the trade volume for Dash that exchange was contributing yesterday, but it's definitely a lot today. I personally hold some Dash and think that it's a good coin because they have really fast transaction times, which makes it easier to use. And they also have an instant send feature to make it even faster, but you have to pay a slightly higher fee. But their regular send speed is really fast as well. A lot of times if I'm moving currency from one exchange to another, I will switch it into Dash and send the Dash over to a different exchange so that I can, and then if I want to switch it back into, say, Bitcoin or something, I can switch it back once it's on the other exchange, but it has lower transaction fees than Bitcoin, and you can send it faster. So I think it's a good coin, but a large part of the reason that it's going up so much while other things are going down is because of BitThumb. So a lot of the highest market cap coins are down, but as you can see on here, there is, other than Dash, a lot of lower market cap coins that are up today. And then let me check on Bittrex. So this is by volume. Power Ledger's been getting a lot of volume lately. It's up 27.9% for the day, and Hey, Tomicado. How's it going? Yeah, so it's getting a lot of volume and it's up. Litecoin is up a little bit in comparison to Bitcoin. Let's see if I put it by percentage change. So currently, Agora's is up the most on Bittrex. But that's only as of recently. So it went up a lot, went down, went up a lot. So I'm assuming it's going to go back down. It's probably already going back down. Went down a little bit from the peak in the last 10 minutes, but yeah, that coin's going to be really volatile right now. So I think that covers the market recap. So some questions from the last video were, one of the questions was asking about how to why the buy limit for Coinbase was so low, and if you have a low buy limit on Coinbase and you want to buy more, it's probably low because you haven't verified your account. So if you go to Coinbase and if your buy limit is for a credit card, if it's $250 or less, and for bank account, if it is I think 2,500 or less, you probably haven't done any of the steps of verification. There's unverified, and then there's verification levels 1, 2, and 3. For most people, you should be good with verification level 1. And the way to change that is if you go to buy and sell on Coinbase, once you're logged in, and then you scroll down and it says your weekly buy limit for either your credit card or your bank account. If that number is lower than what you want it to be, you can look to the right, and there will be written in blue letters a clickable link that says increase buy limits. So if you click that, it'll ask you to for the first step up on verification, what it'll ask you to do is take a picture of either a photo ID or driver's license so you can verify your identity if you're going to be making bigger orders. So yeah, that would be your issue if you're not having enough, if your buy limit is too low. So just go to buy and sell, look at your buy limit, and to the right of that there will be a blue link that says increase buy limits, and you can just follow the steps there. It's going well. Hey, my account is all verified on Coinbase. You should tell me when it is timely to buy some Bitcoin. All right, I will. I can't give trading advice, as I'm not a certified trading advice giver or whatever you call them. But so I can give you my personal opinions. We can actually look at I'll go to the next question in a second, but we can go look at the graph of Bitcoin. So I zoomed it in a little bit extra so we could see it better. But so if you look at 6 hours, that doesn't really tell you that much right now, other than it went up and it's going down. But if you look at 2 days or a week, so you can see it was going up pretty smoothly, and now it's going down and having a ton of volatility. So this is pretty much the last 2 days. So I can just zoom in on the 2-day graph and you can see all of that zoomed in. So if you look at this, I would say it's currently not a good time to buy Bitcoin specifically, because if you notice, the highs are getting lower and the lows, they are not getting lower, but which is a good thing. It means that it's getting more stable, but it's still trending down overall. And this low was a lot of panic. So if you ignore that right there, the lows are going kind of in this direction, or if you include some of that, it'd be kind of just flat. So personally, I think that this is going to trend down for a little bit longer, and these up and down spikes are going to get smaller unless we should see big movement if either on one of the up spikes it beats previous spikes, or we should see a lot of down movement if the price goes below the previous low of, we'll call it 8,800. It says 87.79. If you really go to the bottom of the ticker, it's 87.09, which is right there. But if it doesn't, if the highs don't start beating previous highs, it should continue to go down. And if the lows don't go any lower than the previous lowest in the last 2 days, it's just kind of going to go in a triangle formation until it finds a stable price, and then we'll be able to see where it goes from there based on what the trend is looking like. But currently the price is just kind of settling down, and we're going to have to wait and see what area that settles into. So another question was, how often should I check my cryptocurrencies? And honestly, that depends on how often you want to check them, and also which currencies you're invested in. So if you're invested in more stable currencies, you probably don't have to check on them as often. Also, it depends on if you're investing for short term or long term. So if you're investing for long term, technically you could check it once a month or something. My long term investments, when they go down, I don't sell them, so I don't really need to check them as often as I do, but I check them like every 2 days, just out of curiosity. So yeah, so but if you're in if you're trying to trade for the short term, you want to check it at least once a day, and then you can kind of gauge if you look at the price chart, you can kind of gauge if you think it's at a high. If it's going to an all-time high and then starts to curve back down, you're going to want to sell it. And if it's going to a low and it starts to curve back up, you're going to want to buy it. And then if it's already going up, you still can buy it, but you're going to need to check it a lot because you don't know It depends on how long it's been going up for and how long it's going to go up for. So if you're buying in while it's already up, you're going to want to check it more because you're going to have higher risk. Now you know that it's already going up, so it's likely to continue going up at least for a little bit, depending on how volatile the coin is. But buying a coin while it's going up, if it's going up slowly, you probably don't need to check it that often. But if it's going up really fast, you're going to want to check it a lot more. For example, even with Bitcoin right here, you can see it went up incredibly fast. So, and then it dropped incredibly fast. So the faster it goes up, usually the faster it goes down. An ideal chart would look more like how Bitcoin was looking before all of this volatility. So it was kind of making a lot slower movement. So this is out over the course of a month. And then once you see it start going up like that, that's when you're going to want to start checking it more often. But if it's just kind of moving like this, you really don't need to check it nearly as often. Because if it hasn't just spiked up, the likelihood of it spiking down is going to be lower. Which coins are better for long-term investments? So some of the coins that I like for long-term investments, so I guess this gets into currencies to look at. So some of these are going to be short-term, some of these are going to be long-term for this section, but some of the coins that I'm thinking of as long-term investments are I'm thinking Dash is a long-term investment. Now it's gonna, I would imagine, have some volatility in the short term. We can look at the month graph for that. I think this is a month. Yeah, okay. So as you can see, it's just been doing well for the whole past month pretty much. It was going down a little bit. So it's having some pullbacks, but even with the volatility, unlike Bitcoin, these spikes are trending up. So at this current price, I don't know. I would probably check this coin more often just because there are spikes now, whereas previously there, other than right. So this is Factum. I think I own some Factum, and I don't really look at it that often. I think that one longer term will be going up. For the day it's up 7.2%. I also like Binance Coin. So as you can see, I use the exchange Binance. So Binance Coin is the coin for the Binance exchange. You can also use Binance Coin on the Binance exchange to buy other coins. And I'm pretty sure if you use Binance Coin to trade instead of Bitcoin, Ethereum, or USD Tether, the trade fees are lower when you use Binance. So the ticker symbol for that is BNB. Let me look at the graph for it. Oh wait, go to Bitcoin, BNB. Okay, so Binance Coin is up 8% for the day. These are just 5-minute tickers, so this isn't a whole day. I can put it on 15 and kind of see what it's been doing. So here, this is yesterday. So This might be like a day and a half or something, but it's been trending upwards. I don't know if I go back a little bit farther. So it dipped and now it's trending back upwards. I think that that's a good sign. I personally, I like the exchange Binance. I think it's probably my favorite exchange to use, and it has the lowest fees. So those are definitely big pluses, and it has more coin options than Poloniex, less than Bittrex. So I still have, I still use my Bittrex account a pretty good amount. But if a coin is sold on Binance, I prefer to buy it on Binance. And so I think that the Binance coins is a good investment opportunity. They're currently trading at $1.91 or $1.92. It's kind of going back and forth depending on whether people buy or sell. Also, Power Ledger is potentially a good long-term play. It's a both a good long-term and short-term play right now. So you could take advantage of current volatility with it, but let me try and zoom out farther. So it's made a pullback, making this a better entry point. But if I zoom out farther, so it went up for a spike and then made a pullback. So we're in here right now. So this one would be one to watch. And if you see it get back to these kind of levels, that's going to be definitely a good buying opportunity. But if this spike continues like this for a bit and then starts going up, if it starts going up, it's probably a good time to buy some. But as far as long term, you could pretty much buy it at any price, and I think that it should go up. Now, whether it goes up or down in the next week, I'm not sure, but I think that it's potentially a good long-term play. And then if you see any volatility, you can turn it into a short-term play if you're not looking for a long-term play. Also, IOTA is a good long-term play. It's been getting a lot of attention lately, so it actually spiked up quite a bit recently. As you can see here, it had some really low drops, but it's not likely that I don't think that it was down for very long, so those would have been tough to catch. But at here, so if we'll call this the low since these are unrealistic. That's 4,556 Satoshi, one Satoshi being the 8th decimal place of a Bitcoin. So it went from 4,556 to it's currently at 1,200 or 12,998 and had a high of 16,641. So I think that this coin is going to, over the long term, continue to go up. And we can see if there's any sort of pullback. I mean, technically it did just pull back, but if it pulls back anymore, if it gets kind of into this range, I think that would be a good range to try to buy it in. So maybe anywhere between 8,500 and like 11,100 Satoshi would be a good area to buy it in. Now, if this starts curving back up, it might just continue going up because it has been getting a lot of attention lately. So there's going to be more people going to buy that particular coin. So it might not drop back down to here, but if it does, I would say that this is a good buying area. Of course, if it comes down to here, then that would be even better. But the ideal buying price that I would be looking for would be probably the most recent bottom before the spike. So maybe like 8,500. Let's see. Oh, I also like EOS. EOS is trying to compete with Ethereum, which if you look at the market cap, Ethereum's currently the second biggest cryptocurrency with a market cap of 41.6 billion. And EOS is at a market cap of 1.4 billion. So if it is able to compete with Ethereum, that would mean that it has a lot of room to grow. I think that it's going to grow now. Whether or not it's actually going to pass Ethereum, that would be just speculation. But I think it's got a lot of room to grow. So this is one of the coins that I'm holding as a long-term play. So I don't really check the value of it that often, but sometimes it's just fun to check, even if I don't plan on selling any. So, for example, if I bought it here and then it went down to here, I'm gonna be bummed, but I probably wouldn't sell it since I'm holding it as a longer term play. Now, if it goes up triple in a couple days, then I'm gonna be watching it to sell it because just growing that fast would be unsustainable. But I'd probably wait for, if it was really moving that fast, which as you can see, it's been moving at a reasonably casual rate. What is the date here? So this is October 29th. So since October 29th, it has gone from like 11,000 to 28,000. And that's in just over a month. So it's going up at a good rate, but it's not like it's going up 50% in a day or anything. Which if it does that, I would keep a closer eye on it, but I wouldn't necessarily sell just because it goes up. I'd wait to, well, first off, I would look at if there's news for why it went up. If there's no news, then I would be careful with it, but assuming nothing like that happens, I'd say that this is going to be a good medium to long-term hold. What else? I think Litecoin is a good long-term hold. especially since it just dropped a bunch from its previous high. I think it hit an all-time high when Bitcoin was hitting an all-time high. Well, I'm going to put it against US dollars because Litecoin, no, it's not traded against US dollars or USDT. But it is over here. So LTC is Litecoin's ticker symbol. Should we invest in billion points? You should always invest in billion points. All right, so this is in USDT. So as you can see, it was making good gains. Then with all of the Bitcoin volatility, it's crashed pretty hard. So once the Bitcoin volatility calms down, if Litecoin is still around 87 or less dollars, I would say it's worth getting some Litecoin. I was holding varying amounts of Litecoin. Always some. Sometimes if I wanted to make a short-term play, I might take some out of Litecoin for a little bit. But I was holding it up until the price started freaking out. So I think I sold it around. Well, I didn't sell all of it, but I sold some of it around 93 or so, and then I've been trying to decide what a good buy-in point for it is. So I think it's long term. I think that this is a good buy-in point. Short term, I'm holding some right now still. If it goes a little bit lower, I will pick up some more. But Litecoin is usually going to kind of follow with the trend of Bitcoin. Sometimes it moves a little bit more percentage-wise than Bitcoin. Also, it has the benefit of having cheaper transactions than Bitcoin. So if you're trying to move it from an exchange to a wallet or one exchange to another, you'll save money on that, and it'll be faster. Let me see if I can think of any other medium to long-term plays. Obviously, Bitcoin is going to be a long-term play, but I wouldn't buy it right now since it's a lot more volatile than usual. This happens every time so people will start to notice that it's just growing and growing and growing, and then everyone will, once people start noticing that trend that it's just going just straight in a diagonal line up, then people will start jumping in faster, and then it'll spike up because people will see, it's going up really fast now. So everyone will jump in, and then as soon as someone sells a bunch, people who bought it up at the top of that spike are gonna panic and sell it, and it'll drop fast like it did. And then now, since the recent prices were all based on people worrying about missing out if it just kept going up, so they're buying in while it's going up really fast, or they're worried that it's going to crash all the way down, and so they're trying to sell it. So after that pump and then dump in the price, it's still going to be working out what the current value is for a bit. So until we kind of see that stabilize, I wouldn't mess with Bitcoin. But long term, I think it's definitely a good price right now long term. But if it's going to be really volatile in the short term, and you're going to be concerned if you look at your portfolio and you're down 10% in a day on it and freak out, it's probably not a good time to buy it until it stabilizes and then starts trending upwards again. But and then Ethereum's another good long-term hold. And it also made a pretty nice pullback. It hit a high of 515 really briefly, so we're just going to call the high 484 and fell to 427. So as you can see, if we just kind of follow this path, it's at pretty much where it should be right now, and I think we'll continue in that direction. So I think Ethereum is a good long-term play. And if I were to be buying on Coinbase right now, since your only three options on Coinbase are Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, I think the Bitcoin price is really volatile right now, and it's not really that low. Whereas there's been volatility with Litecoin and Ethereum, but they haven't recovered as much yet. So I think they're at a better buy-in price than Bitcoin is right now. And with the current amount of volatility, if you have the option, I recommend doing the instant buy if you're trying to do short-term plays, because with all the volatility, you don't want to be locked in at a price for 3 to 9 days with the slow order from buying with your bank account. So buying with a credit card, if you're not trying to buy it, if you're trying to buy more than your credit card limit on Coinbase, then you might have to either buy it all from your bank account or buy some on your credit card and some on your bank account. The credit card will cost a little bit higher fee, but if you're looking for protection in the short term, you'll be able to react to market changes for those pretty much right away rather than in 3 to 9 days. And if you're buying for long term, then it won't matter as much. But I think that currently Ethereum and Litecoin are at a better price option than Bitcoin is. So I'm still holding some Bitcoin, but if it goes lower, then I will be planning on buying more. But I'm not buying at the current price. So I think that's off the top of my head, I think that's a pretty good amount of long-term or medium-term plays, and a little bit of information about short-term plays. Switch over to this. So in Bitcoin. So power is going to be, I think, a good long-term and short-term play. And then I think that BQX, which is ethos, the ticker symbol doesn't really make sense with the name, but that's because they changed their name and they didn't change the ticker symbol. But I think that Bitcoin's, it was Bitcoin's. I think that ethos is a a good long-term play. It's up 14.79% today, and it dropped pretty hard when Bitcoin dropped. So I think that this is a pretty good buy-in price. You can see it's starting to recover already. I can switch it to maybe like 15-minute ticker symbols. So it's trending well in the short term. This particular coin is not traded on Bittrex or Poloniex, so you would need a Binance account for this coin. And then as far as short-term plays go, like really short-term, if you're talking about like intraday trading, you pretty much just kind of want to look at the ones that are 15% up or more, and then click on the graph, and if it's still going up, like if it's going like this, then that's a good time to buy it. But you have to be ready to sell, especially if you're buying it when it's going exponentially up. That's going to be really risky. All the intraday trading is going to be risky if you're doing intraday trading, you're looking for higher risk so that you can make more money in a short period of time. But with that comes you can also lose more money in a short period of time. So if you do buy something while it's going up a lot, you're going to need to keep your eye on it. And then a lot of times when it drops, it'll do what's called a dead cat bounce. After going up a ton, it'll go down really hard, bounce up some, but not to the previous high, and then fall more. So sometimes when you see it's hard to reverse, you can buy it and then either just tell yourself, I'm going to sell when it goes up 10 more percent or something, or whatever percent you're going to be satisfied with, or be ready as soon as it starts going down to sell it. But like I said, those are going to be definitely risky trades. So if you're looking for a lower risk profile, you usually want to go with medium to long term trades. Of course, this is all just my personal opinion, but I put almost all of my money in medium to long term currencies, and then if I am bored, I will take a very small percent of my holdings and play with one of the coins that's making a lot of movements. You can make Hearthstone analogies. Is buying Bitcoin while it's volatile like playing Yogg? Yeah, that's actually exactly what it's like. Buying it while it's volatile, you could win really big, or you could lose really hard. But I think that's everything that I wanted to cover for today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and please go ahead and press the like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe and turn on notifications so you can come say hi next time I go live, and you'll get a notification of that. All right. Oh, and if you have any more questions, go ahead and post them in the comments on this video, and I will answer them in the next video. Thanks, guys.